The Nature Photo Guys podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Camera Store, located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
It's our go-to spot for everything photography and video. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, the Camera Store has what you need.
And the best part, they ship right across Canada with free shipping on most orders over $99.
The Camera Store is a legendary name in photography, so make sure to check them out today at camerastore.com.
Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
We are very excited to welcome our next guest. But before we begin, we wanted to send a special thanks to Canon Canada for co-sponsoring this episode.
100% Chris. You know, it's that time of year, everyone. Black Friday is on at the Camera Store along with Canon's Level Up sale, which is the best time of year to purchase Canon cameras and lenses.
Absolutely, Joe. You can save up to $1,200 at the Camera Store with savings on popular models, including the Canon EOS R6 Mark II kit with $500 in savings.
And if you're local and in Calgary, on Black Friday morning, the Camera Store will be handing out gift vouchers to the first 50 people to arrive, valued between $10 and $500. So make sure to check out Black Friday deals at thecamerastore.com.
Now let's jump into our conversation with our next guest, a Canon Canada Ambassador who has had an incredible journey. In her 23-year career, she has earned a remarkable reputation for capturing the moment, creating images that convey the journey and successes of her subjects. Driven by a profound love for storytelling, she strives to give her subjects a voice that resonates, producing visuals that are both thought-provoking and emotionally relatable. Whether focused on epic landscapes, iconic architecture, wildlife conservation, or professional sports, her goal remains the same: to immerse viewers in the moment and set their minds free. Her work has earned international recognition, including a gold medal at the 2024 World Photographic Cup. As a Canon Canada Ambassador, she now shares her passion for photography with others, mentoring aspiring photographers and guiding small groups along the pristine Canadian coastline. She also collaborates with the Canadian Conservation Photographers Collective, tirelessly supporting environmental protection efforts. Please welcome to the show, Jacquie Matechuk.
Hi.
Well, hello, Jackie.
Hello, good to meet you both again.
Yeah, you betcha. It's been a while. I think it's been since Light Chasers, I think, right?
Yeah, that's too long.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you've been traveling the world from what we've seen. So now that you're back into Canada, we can finally speak with you.
I'm very excited to be on here.
Learn about your adventures. Yeah, you betcha. No, it's been a while. And I mean, I know we talked about it, Light Chasers, having you on the podcast. So we're super stoked that we finally got you on.
Yeah, we
So
sure.
We're just going to barrage you with all kinds of questions. We're going to have a speed round. And let's freak her out right now, Chris.
Okay.
You got the scroll of the list, Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so relaxed.
Let me scroll
Question
all the way back
1100.
up to the top here.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Well, we'll start off really easy, Jackie. Like we ask everybody else, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually got into photography. I know the story, but why don't you share that with our audience?
Oh boy. So I actually started in the world of photography through the sports arena, and I had been working on the Canadian Superbike series, doing logistics. So I was doing timing, fuel calculations, that kind of thing. And the national team I was part of grew very quickly. We had more people come on board, which meant there was more downtime at the track. So I managed to weasel my way over to where the photographers were hanging out in my spare time and watched over their shoulder. Really loved looking back at the end of the weekends, all the magazine publications and online publications and seeing how they caught, the emotion of the weekend. And I just had a couple of the guys from that group that were extremely inviting and supportive and helped me with some great advice on picking out a camera body and lens. And the rest kind of just grew from there.
Was it Canon from the beginning?
It was Canon from the very beginning. Love at first sight. Yeah.
Good. Do you remember what camera body it was?
Oh, it was a what were they called?
Was it digital or film?
It was a digital.
I
It
don't
was one
want
of
to
the
date you. Oh, okay.
first
I don't
ones, but barely digital.
Yeah,
Was not
yeah,
very good.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Was it like
it was
a Rebel or something? Like
Rebel
a Rebel
XT.
series? Oh, okay.
XT
Yeah.
or something like that.
That's
Yeah,
the one.
yeah, for
Thank you.
sure.
Nice
Yeah.
save.
There you go.
Yeah.
The XT was the
Yeah.
first one, but the advice I got was whatever money you have, invest in the very best lens you can afford, and then find a camera body with whatever's left. So I went out and bought the best lens and stuck it on an XT, and it was plenty good enough.
Well, yeah. I mean, the lenses follow. I mean, you can grow with the lenses. I mean, I've got lenses that are 12 years old, that you're still using, right? Or that I'm still using, that I'm sure Chris is, and you are too. So that's really good advice for everybody listening. Absolutely. So,
yeah.
So I guess it was the sports. Now, was it your son that was competing? Is that what drew you to motocross, or was it just?
No,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the
not
story.
At all. Really?
It wasn't. Oh, you were chasing guys.
No,
Is that what it was?
God. No, running from them. Oh.
Oh, okay. You were on the motorbike running from them. That's what it was.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Okay, sure.
Actually, I was racing motocross before my little guy came to be. So motocross is sort of a background for me that is very much part of my life. Loved the racing, loved the intensity of it. When my little guy was born, he started racing when he was 4. And I raced up until that year. And when he started, I just stepped back and became mom. And I'd ride and practice and play, but I didn't compete anymore. I was just able to focus on what I wanted to. And that was him at the time. My husband and I, from that relationship, we ended up separating down the road. So he was about that just after 4. And I ended up with another gentleman who is actually a road racer. So he does the sport bike racing. Because I had shifted over and I was working on one of the teams, he ended up being one of the riders. And I don't know, we ended up going from arguing and screaming at each other to arguing, screaming at each other, and then making up. So we ended up dating, and he's been my right hand and my heart and soul ever since. But it was actually him that in the road racing side where I started doing the photography work. So it was first him, and then my son grew up through the same ranks of sport bikes as well.
Wow.
Very cool. I didn't know that.
So you were a badass growing up. Oh my God. I didn't know you actually rode. I didn't hear that part of the story, Jackie. I just heard, you're at the track, or I guess you call it a track, right? At the events, and that's how you kind of got started. But I didn't know that was actually why you got started, because you're actually riding yourself.
When I started, there were no women's class. There was myself and a younger sister from one of the other pro riders. She wanted to start riding, and myself, and they stuck us with a bunch of guys at first, and then they stuck us with the kids, and then they stuck us back with the guys again. They didn't know what to do with us. So we kind of forged a path forward. And I think it was about, maybe 4 years after that we ended up having the first Women Worlds motocross event here in Canada, which was,
that's awesome.
Yeah, just a whole new level and lots to learn and really exciting to be part of.
Crazy.
Oh, that's very cool.
Wow, that is very cool.
There's a piece of history I haven't talked about in a long time.
Wow. So have you done any other types of sports since, like motocross? Like that sounds like it's what got you started in sports photography, but have you branched off and done other sports, or?
Photographing, yes. Partaking, not as much. I mean, I grew up as a kid. We grew up on the farm, so rodeo was natural. All of my uncles were either pickup men or bull riders or bronc riders, or my cousins, not my nephews, my cousins, same thing. We're going to scholarships on things like that. So we were around the rodeo circuits a lot. So that was a natural fit as well. Anything with that intensity and, just the unexpected, never knowing when things were going to unfold. And I think it just came to be a natural progression. When I started, it was more keepsake memories at the track. It was for my own benefit. I wanted to learn and keep my own memories. And I saw a race weekend much different. than the photographers would, because I was much more invested. Not only was I a part of the team, but once you start to become part of the family of the team, you understand on a whole nother level what's on the line. And it's, it's not just a title or an interview. It's your livelihood. It's your income, everything that you've been investing together emotionally, like it's all on the line. To be able to make that team the next year, to get that win or to secure that position. So it's a lot more intense from that perspective. And for me, being able to capture our story from pit lane, that was actually how I was able to break in and get noticed, because I was taking pictures that wasn't just about what was happening on the track, but the emotion under the pit tent, at the wall with our pit crews and our pit boss, losing their mind when someone's coming by and they're bumping bars going down the straight at 150 kilometers and everyone's just going ballistic. Those shots to me meant a lot. And those were the ones that the manufacturers noticed. And before I knew it, I was doing press releases for them. So it was pretty neat.
Very cool. That's awesome.
I love the natural progression. Right?
Yeah, I can't take any credit for planning it whatsoever. It's just all unfolded, and it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
So, and then you branched into other sports from there, as I know you CFL photographer as well, I guess. And
again, I took a big hiatus from racing once my husband retired, or stepped back, and I had my own career going as well on the side. I was a business development manager for a Ford dealership at the time. So I had stepped away from the photography end in a huge way, got into some real estate investment, which afforded me the opportunity to walk away from the day-to-day job. And we moved out to the acreage. And before I knew it, there was, a few years later, I'm working part-time because I wanted to. And my son is now a little bit older, and X Games announces that they're going to add snow bikes to the events list. And he continued with his motocross, but he had just happened to start riding snow bikes that previous year, which he loved, and decided that's it. That's where he wants to go. That's what he wants to do. So with the ties I had from Yamaha back in sport bike racing, as soon as they were invited to come to the games, because Cody was a top contender in the world, I gave them a call and said, "Hey, remember me?" And they're like, "Yes, can we send you?" I'm like, "Yes, you sure can."
Nice.
So
nice.
Then I was down at X Games photographing, and then it went from there. It's grown into CFL and NHL and Canada Games, a few different things. So it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a knack, like all your sports photography. All your photography tells a story. But even the sports, I was looking at a photo today at biathlon. They're shooting. There's still action in your photo because you can actually see the bullet flying through the air. Like, it's amazing what the detail that you can put into these images. So
yeah, again, I can't take credit for that. It's a fraction of a second.
I know, but you still got it.
Definitely some good luck. But yeah, even that event helped a ton. I had massive amount of the images from the Canada Games. And this is for anyone looking to get into sports photography. That was an event that I actually had volunteered to work at, was the Canada Games. They need volunteer photographers, creatives. And it is an incredible experience because you're with other people with that same mindset. Everybody's there to help each other get the best, assets for the games that they possibly can. But the coverage that you get from it, I had so many images that were published that went beyond just Canada Games, but like Skate Canada would pick it up, or the ski teams, individual teams, whether it was provincial or whether it was National Ski Council, like just all of a sudden your images start showing up everywhere and everybody's tagging you, which was great. And before I know it, I'm out on Cam or Nikiska and all these other places are photographing FIS World Cup, which it's just, how did this happen? So yeah, if you're going to give your time, I really suggest giving it to someone that can help you with the skill sets that you want, but that there's also some potential kickback, especially if you're volunteering time.
Great advice. I've done sports photography for years, but more of on an amateur level with the kids, and minor sports, that kind of thing. And I just have never gone further with it, but it's awesome you're able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I've been so fortunate. There's so many things I can't take any credit for whatsoever. It's just kind of snowballed and leapfrogged from one stage to another.
So how did you get to photographing most cute and fuzzy animals?
Oh,
did you volunteer at a shelter and no, just kidding.
That would have
you
been
might have actually. No kidding.
I might have gained some followers if that was the case, but sadly, no. No, actually, again, they found me. No thanks to that miserable COVID that shut down the world. What I had just started building up and getting momentum on in the sports world was just gone. Everything overnight, all the contracts, anything scheduled was done. And I literally went into this little mini panic mode of, no, I just got everything really going and good momentum and feeling good about the equipment. And then that hit. And I was almost I wouldn't say discouraged, but just distraught. I just how am I going to keep this going? So first thing I did is went to the local camera club and met a couple of great gals from out here in Cochrane. And they were both nature photographers. So one was more landscape. The other one was more bird wildlife photographer. And they invited me out. And I said, you know what? Yeah, let's give it a try. I'm not really birdie person, but I said, no, it's a really good challenge. You'll love it. And so I went out the first time and it was a good challenge. I'll give them that. Some of those birds are insanely erratic. And I kind of like that. I like the idea of it. And we went out a couple more times and then I ended up meeting a gentleman from Canmore that was going to set up a tour in Churchill. And it was for the polar bears. And I said, yeah, I'd love to go. And we headed up to Churchill and we got back in the room the first night. And both my girlfriend and I, she had never done a trip like this either. And this was one of the gals I met at the camera club. We walked in the room and dropped the bags on the floor and we turned and we looked at each other. And we didn't say anything for probably, 10, 15 seconds, just stared at each other. And then we both screamed loud
nice.
And, big hugs with each other. It's like, my God, what did we just experience? It was incredible. So I would say almost immediately after getting back, he told me that he was going to do a trip in Alaska. And he showed me pictures of them on the ground, just feet away from these bears everywhere. It's like, that's what I want to do next. So from there, I decided I needed to do my due diligence. So I did some research and found they had the Canadian Bear Viewing Association actually has a course for guiding. And although I didn't have any intentions of guiding at the time, I wanted to go and understand bear behavior and make sure I wasn't going to contribute negatively to the experience, upset the bear or do something I shouldn't have done. So I went, learned, had my bear guiding certification before I even really was on the ground with the bear. And that one just put me over the top. I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. Just the emotion and the connection. And then everything else I loved about sports photography, all the things you can't control, it was, a match made in heaven.
That's awesome.
We
actually did just meet Mr. Mills in Churchill.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We've chatted for a little bit and stuff. And then I saw some of his posts. I'm like, are you here? He goes, yeah. Are you here? Yeah. So we met on the field and chit-chatted. And then, we're kind of messaging back and forth while we're out there and stuff.
We saw him here and there for a few days. For sure. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome guy.
Zach's fantastic. And he's a very, very compassionate person and genuinely excited for people to get a great experience behind the lens. So
you betcha. And when I asked him about the podcast, he's like immediately, yep. Okay. When? So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. We'll get him on. So so that's another, it's awesome. It's great that, you get to meet, or you put the face to the name, in person in the field. And, you know, it's always nice to chat online or, you know, messaging and that kind of stuff. But when you actually get to meet people out there, it's awesome. It's very cool. So I think that's all part of the photography experience, right? So
I think very much. I mean, we talk all the time about the connections we get to make with our subjects. And I think a lot of that is also, you know, the company you keep. Are you traveling with people you want to be around? Are they keeping you in that positive headspace and, you know, keeping your heart and head full of good things? And when you find those people, yeah, it's a whole nother level of enjoyment for sure.
So is it bears and only bears? So like, what are some of your favorite animals? That's always a tough one. You know, we ask that question. Yeah. Everybody's like, well, I don't know.
They don't have a favorite, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
They like it all.
You know, it's, for sure.
That's got to be one of the hardest questions to answer.
Yep.
Because
so we're waiting.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Just kidding.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how to prioritize. There's been, I think it depends
your top
on
5.
Well, owls are definitely in there for me. Great grays in particular. I get to spend a lot of time with them right at home. And you get to be on first name basis with a lot of them because you see the same ones coming around and see them have their young ones and see them fledge. And it's pretty exciting. Bears, there's no question. You know, I think the brown bears will always have a special place in my heart because it's the first time I was on the ground with them. And I mean, so close that you could feel in your core the big, the big exhale grunt. You were that close. And that whole tactile experience was just surreal. But I think there's, the spectacled bear is an incredibly special one because of where we are. And it's so, I think the whole environment, and the issues of education and having, the locals learn and support, environmental awareness and sustainability. It's maybe more all encompassing for me, being a little bit more grassroots or just sort of getting into that direction. So it's really neat to see that start to come to fruition. But then this last year here in Africa, I mean, to sit there and watch a little 3-month-old baby gorilla, trying to be steady and sit upright on his own. And I was just telling someone the other day, I was trying to photograph this little cutie and he's just so wobbly sitting on top of mom's belly. And all of a sudden this arm reaches down in the frame and taps him on the back and turns around, trying to see what it is. And then it taps him on the back again, turns around, tries to see what it is. And it's just his little sibling was up in a branch above him and kept poking one side to the other.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
And you would never think, to see something like that in a world that's so separate from ours, but it's still so relatable. So, you see things like that, or we saw a chimp, a young chimp with an adult that was quite a bit older, running around a bush, chasing each other, goosing, jumping, screeching, and they just went round and round. Then they went the other way. The little one chased the big one chased the little one. It's like, there's so much connection going on that we don't often get to see. So it makes it hard to pick a species.
No kidding.
That means more than another, but yeah, it's been an incredible year.
I mean, we could even just narrow it down to locations, so Africa, Canada,
there we go. Africa, Canada, good start.
Where's your tour? Is it Patagonia that's coming up? Is it Patagonia?
I've got a few this year. The first thing I'm doing before Patagonia, I head out to India to scout out for the tour in 2026. So I would never take people on a tour without, if this is my tour, I need to know exactly what they're going to go through, what they're going to experience, make sure that they, they're getting their money's worth, and I can do a service to them as far as having them prepared and just put them in a position where all they need to worry about is the shot and the connection. That's it. Just be in that moment and whatever happens, happens. So there's a lot we can do as guides to make that possible, I think, for people. And, just running around, getting your own shot and then getting everybody back on the vehicle, that's not it. That's not enough to just take the toll kind of thing. You need to be more involved if people want it. So I'm excited. We've got Patagonia, India. I'll be back in Ecuador this year. I am going to Africa twice next year, early in May and then again at the end of the year, and Costa Rica, and I think that, and Arctic with Adventure Canada as well, I think. Going back again. Yeah. So I think that's all for now.
Cool. Are there still spots available if people want to join you? Yeah.
There's a couple. Yeah. I have in Alaska, of course. I have a couple of tours that I just opened. I wasn't sure about bookings and times. So most of them, there's only 1 or 2 spots left. But there are a couple that are still available. And I just posted the one for Africa. So we just settled on some dates, a brand new camp that is co-owned with one of the Maasai tribe chief's sons, which is really exciting to see them entering the business side of things, not just a 5% stakehold, but a 50% stakehold. So, and I got to meet him last year, and he's tremendous, probably one of the most experienced guides in Maasai, or in the Maasai. So yeah, seeing that come to fruition for all of them, for their family, is really exciting. So we'll be taking my group down there to enjoy a brand new camp as well, which Zach will tell you more about when you get to talk to him.
Crazy good. Yeah, we'll definitely be asking him. So this is a perfect segue, because on your website, you do have workshops, but you also offer private coaching, correct?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to touch base on that a little bit.
Sure. I think everybody's at different places with their photography, and sometimes you have an idea of where you want to go. Sometimes you're not sure yet of what you want to accomplish. So when I looked at doing classes, I've done some beginner ones, but most of what I do now for initial education would be mentoring for students, or like the Canon program as well. So it's more student based, but this one's been interesting because I've had a lot of pro or semi-pro that I've been able to work with, and it's always very discreet. But we can go either to the genre or to the locations they want to, or I can take them out somewhere different, and we will work on the exact things you need for your business. And in some cases, it's been about the photography, about the equipment. It might be about, adding the videography to the photography component. It might be about how to market or build it on a website afterwards, or about culling and, cataloging your images. It could be a variety of things. So we always meet first and we go through, discuss the priorities. I'll build a plan out and send it back, and we'll have another quick chat, make sure it's going to check the boxes for them. And then we go out together and we put the money where it's going to do the most good for the person that needs it.
That's an amazing offering. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've had a few people now that have gone through it, and they've said, they've been at a photography tour, where they spent a few grand and had great opportunities, but didn't really feel like they learned a whole lot. And for the money, had they done that first, they would have come out of that tour with so much more. Just, getting their head and their hearts wrapped around what to do with that lens in their hands. So hopefully I can be able to do that for more people.
Nice.
Very cool. You mentioned videography. Do you do video as well?
As much as I can. Yeah. And that started, that kind of started my desire to move into more conservation based work. A lot of times you need the video components depending on the pitches or the proposals you're doing. If you're looking for stakeholders, if you're looking for grants and funding, or even policy change. The stills are important for print, but when you're doing something that, where you've got a backup and you've got a way to help, you have a way to help project the whole story. Video sometimes just cannot, it can do so much more than what a still can. And case in point would be, that little gorilla, like that whole activity turning around, you would never understand that without the video. of it.
Exactly.
And the same with the chimps doing the chase back and forth. Like without the video, it just wouldn't have had the same impact. So there are times where you need that. But I also think we learn a lot more. You get a bunch of pictures of animals, whatever it might happen to be, and then you put it on slow-mo for a little bit and watch just how they're moving, and you start to pick up on all the little details because you've got that ability to see it and really absorb it. And now you look for different things the next time you're shooting. So I find the video helps the photography, which helps the video, which helps the photography, and it just kind of keeps snowballing. So it's a nice ad if people aren't using it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Joe and I, I'm curious for you with the behavior that you're focusing on and seeing. We always have the same battle. Do we take photos? Do we take video? I have a video background. So Joe's been doing a lot more video the last couple of years as well, but it is a battle. Do you take photos? And, there's pros and cons both ways. So in that case, are you focused on video, watching the gorilla run around the tree, or?
So at the time I was taking photos of the two of them interacting, and then they made like one loop and then a second loop. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're actually chasing each other. So for myself, one of the things like we do in coaching is we talk a lot about custom settings, because these cameras nowadays, I mean, you can customize the tar out of them. And I am always one button away. It's one button to video in the type of video that I want. So if it's slow-mo or if it's just a regular high frame or low frame standard, 30 frames per second, whatever it happens to be, it's defaulted to what I want. So I can take my pictures and literally within a split second go into my video mode and then push my shutter button and I'm back in camera mode. So I'm never moving my hands. I'm never changing what I'm looking at. It's just one button and I can bounce back and forth. And there's so many times I'll get the video and the still. People are like, I thought you had a video of that. I'm like, I do. You got both? It's like, yeah. If you're set up right, it's not like I'm that good. It's the camera's that good. So
that's the beauty of the hybrid Canon cameras for sure, right? So
they
the little
are
red button, right,
incredible.
Joe? So
little red button. Chris, here's my camera. Button. Oh, give it back. Okay. Hit the little red button. I'm a videographer now. Yeah,
it's fantastic. And then when you're in it, I mean, it's always whatever you're doing at the time something starts to unfold that's amazing, just don't switch. And that's the hard part, right? Especially if you're a photographer, you think, well, like that's a winning photo. But if something all of a sudden happens, and without a lot of warning, I just stay in whatever I'm in and ride it out. Because sure enough, you go to switch and you miss both.
Exactly. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You got to finish that sequence. Yeah.
Exactly. And video, whatever you're doing, tell yourself just 5 more seconds. When you go to hit that button, stop and just 5 more seconds. Then you can go ahead and stop. I cannot believe how often that next 5 seconds just after I was about to stop it, that's when the magic happens. It's
the key
crazy.
Points. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So keep that in your head.
What bodies are you shooting with, Jackie?
I've got an R3 and R5 that I'm photographing with predominantly now. Very, very grateful. Canon is sending out an R1 and the R5 Mark II to take to Costa Rica here. Nice. Coming up. So I'm going to put them to the task and see how they differ. So it'll be nice to be able to talk to people about, where you see the advantages and disadvantages from one versus another, especially in multiple genres.
Well, I'll be curious what you feel about both of them. That's for sure. So especially from your sports background and the wildlife background, right? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. And it's funny. There's some, like the 100-300 lens, for instance, they have the new RF 100-300 and it's phenomenal. I mean, I had no idea. I used it on the field at the CFL at a couple of the games, and then I hopped up to Alaska and took it up there on my last trip. And I used it 98% of the time.
You're kidding. Wow.
I could not believe
it's 2.8 all the way through, that one?
All the way through.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Everything looks like it's been photoshopped to soften the background and blur out the foreground, but it comes out of the camera that way. Wow. It's beautiful lens. And they don't even market that really as a wildlife lens. It's a sports lens.
Right.
Which it also does phenomenally. But it has a place for sure in the wildlife arena.
Have you tried it with the teleconverter?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Crystal sharp.
No issues with the 1.4 then, eh? Okay.
None.
2 times
None
or
at
just
all.
the 1.4?
Did the 2 times.
Oh,
Even
wow. Nice.
2 times.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was able,
eh?
to zoom
5.6.
like crazy
Mhm.
with it. Cause we had a couple, the only time that I really felt like I didn't have enough lens there, where we're actually camping with the bears. We don't fly in out every day. We actually sleep in tents where the bears are,
Nice.
which gives us great early morning, late night opportunities. And depending on the tides, and that's what they follow is as the tides are starting to come in, the flounder are closer to shore and the bears are out in the water diving and bowing through the water trying to grab these great big flat black and white flounder fish. And but there are ways out, and the higher the water comes, the more you're receding up the shoreline. You've got to give up some space. So that's where I needed to put it into 2 times. And I mean, I could zoom in a lot on my raw images in post and really crop down and still have a beautiful shot. Water droplets from the head shake, big flounder fish tail. And I couldn't believe it. It was
that good of a
really
lens.
impressive.
Very cool.
That good.
It's probably a great
Might have to test
versatile
drive.
video lens as well. Then you got 100
Incredible.
to 300. That's perfect. Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah. And it's for a lot of people don't realize, but if you do have a couple of really good camera bodies, like Canon has their professional services, the CPS membership.
Mm-hmm.
And it is phenomenal to be able to rent lenses you would never otherwise invest, 18 or 20 grand. And the very first time I tried a 600, I was through the rental program, and it cost me, I think maybe $380 or something to rent it for a week, which when you're spending $7 grand or $6 grand to go on a trip somewhere, a few $100s to have the absolute ultimate lens. That was the deal of the century, and
No kidding.
Came back with pictures I could never have otherwise come back with. So, yeah, if you're not a member and you've got a couple professional bodies, look into that because
we've both been members for years and years.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
Chris
I've test driven a ton of lenses.
I was just going to say, Chris, you could attest to that. I think he's ran out. So I think he's done every lens twice.
I have. Yeah, I've done a bunch of them. Yeah. The 400-2.8 has been my dream lens. I've used it for years and end up buying it. It's back on the shelf there. So it's the that's the 400 RF back there. But yeah, no, I've tried all the lenses and the 600 as well. And I've kind of fell in love with that one. But the 100 to 300, I've always been. But as soon as it came out, I was debating on that one too. It seems very versatile for video and photos. So, yeah,
it was more than I thought. I like a better lens than I thought. I kind of thought about it a little bit and dismissed it. You really don't need to. You're only going to use it for the football games, maybe hockey games, and no, there'd be a lot more use for it having had it in the field now. Yeah,
very cool. Good to know. We'll have to test drive that one.
I would.
Get it for spring, Chris. Get it for spring, eh?
Absolutely.
So, hey guys, just a quick reminder, don't forget to check out Canada's Black Friday deals at the camera store.
Absolutely, Joe. It's the perfect time to snag some great savings on popular Canon models. Head over to thecamerastore.com to check out all the deals.
I got a question about your website there, Jackie. The name Brought to Light. How'd you come up with that?
Brought to life. Oh my goodness. That's a good question. That came up, years and years ago. I think that was kind of the goal, was whether it was a moment, whether it was a story, just to bring it, be able to take an image and bring the moment to life. It seemed to be something that resonated well, and I don't know. It just kind of came to me. It's like, can I live with this long term? Is there anything it wouldn't really apply to? And I didn't think so. So that's what it ended up being.
Oh yeah, an absolutely stunning website. I was just going through it. I was telling Chris, obviously we're perusing it, for little gems, little nuggets of information to share with the world.
Yes, I had to calm Joe down. He was all over the
yeah.
website.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
And I just thought that's such a unique name. That was very cool. So, and I love, the photo of the great gray. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better homepage image. And of course, that's an award winner. So, yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
About the image?
Yeah, the image and the gold medal. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually, that was a horrible experience.
Oh, was that Henry? Was that one of your great great friends Henry that that you've named out there? Or
so actually, this was a new one. The experience was wonderful. So taking the photo was great. I was having it had been a tough week at work, and it was just one of those nights. I got in the car. It's like I need to reset, and I stopped at the house, grabbed my camera bag, threw it in the car, and took off. And it was just, there was still lots of light left. And I came across this young male great gray that I had not seen before. Very, very good looking young bird, like really intact and quite striking, but a phenomenal hunter, like a once and done every time. So when I first saw him, there was another gentleman a little further, younger fella, down the road that had pulled over just about the same time. And we kind of converged in the middle, and we were watching this owl doing his diving and doing his hunting and back up on the fence and into the trees and back out again. And I'm kind of just decided, you know what, I think I'm gonna step away. I got lots. I feel good. He's been good to me. And at that point, he hopped off the fence and started to fly across. And I thought, that looked, it was just in flight. So it was in my lens, and I just kind of followed him all the way through. And then it looked like he turned and looked at me, or in that direction. And I just watched him kind of finish off, and then he went into the forest again. And I thought that couldn't have just happened. I've never seen them do that in flight, like turn completely sideways. And I looked down in the back of my lens, and might not have been all that quiet in the middle of the road celebrating. It's like, that's so cool to see that it just happened to be, through the split wings, and came home and put it in the computer, and it was like, wow, it actually worked. That's a pretty one. That's a keeper for sure.
Well, thanks for keeping it PG there, Jackie, because I'm sure you didn't say, "Oh, wow, that's cool."
No, maybe not exactly word for word.
No, there we go.
It was a pretty exciting moment. And it's not too often you feel like, wow, I got a real special ones. But that felt like it for sure.
No
and then you just hope when you get home, it looks as sharp on the computer as it does in your viewfinder, right?
You bet.
So, and then we got back. I did some editing on it to change like some tonality to give it that more of that blue, because it was more darker in the browns, and chose to try and edit it to how I felt that particular day, that moment. It was just the two of us, and it was a little bit later, but there was still some light, and I don't know, it just felt like it was just him and I through the darkness, even though there was another person there. And then entered it in World Photographic Cup. And for those that don't know about that, I so encourage people to enter their images into that competition. It's incredibly unique as far as competitions go. We just finished, they just announced a new round of qualifiers. So we are now, we have a 2025 team, I guess it would be, for Team Canada. So really very excited and grateful that I made the cut this year again. So, cool. I believe December they'll let us know if we make World Top 10 with any of those images. And then it's the big event will be in Ecuador when they do the awards and stuff. But for those that don't know, the World Photographic Cup is literally every country has a team they put together, and there's 10 different classes. So each class, which would be like sports or wildlife or nature, each one of those classes you enter your images into, and the jurors and the curators will pick 3 for each class. So Canada will have 30 entries altogether, 3 in every one of the 10 classes. And those go into a competition. It could be anywhere from 38 to 45 different nations, depending on the year, that enter. And there will be a judge from every one of those countries going across and judging all the images in the competition. So you get things that are really common for us here, like a great gray, maybe not common, but not rare, or, not that rare. For most people, they had never seen that bird before. So it did really, really well. And there's been a lot of images like that. You think about the beautiful landscapes we have, Abraham Lake, for example, like those fascinating frozen methane bubbles. I mean, that's pretty unique. Maybe not if you live in Alberta, but certainly everywhere else in the world, it is. So for people that are into, that are localized, maybe don't do a ton of traveling, this is definitely a competition to look at. And there's so much PR and traction that can come out of it. So very worthwhile for people, I think, to look at doing. And that could be anything, again, from photojournalism, sports, architectural. There's lots of commercial classes. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Is that a PPOC competition?
Nope. No, it is World Photographic Cup. They support it. They definitely support it.
I thought it was PPOC members for the Photographic Cup. I get you.
No.
Well, that's great for everyone to hear.
Yeah, I think both PPOC and CAPA are supporters for the World Photographic Cup team, but you don't have to be a member of any organization to be able to submit an image or to be on the team. So it's pretty exciting.
Crazy. That's good. That's awesome for everybody to hear.
We actually had some people when we were at Light Chasers and we were doing image critiques. There were a few in there in particular. I'm like, hey, you need to enter this because this is
that's
beautiful.
So awesome.
Yeah, like they were great captures. So hopefully we see. I'd love to see some of them entered down the road.
Wow. So editing. You're talking about that. Is there, when you're editing your photos, like you edit them a little differently depending on the genre, or like you kind of mentioned, you do it by feel and what you felt. Not so much. I'm guessing like, okay, well, let's get the white balance accurate. Let's do this and let's do, you know what I mean? Like, cause you can do it very technically, which I guess I kind of tend to do.
Right.
But it sounds to me you do a lot of it more by what you felt, right?
Yeah. Well, and depending on the competition, like, are you editing it to print it and to sell it? Are you editing it to be in a nature photography competition or something that is photographic artwork? Because those are three very different purposes and techniques. So it depends on what the end goal is, I think, as far as the direction I would take to do an edit on an image. Yeah, but I do trust my heart and like how I feel in the moment. That a lot of times that directs which way I go with editing.
How much time do you usually spend on the images? Is it more time on the wildlife, like the the art ones versus the sports ones?
It depends on how good the in-camera image is, obviously. How much work you have to do. If I've done a good job, then I don't have to spend 50 hours doing it. But for the most part, I don't spend a lot of time anymore editing. I try, for me right now, the goal is to get those compositions and in-camera settings so good that you don't have to rely on that very much. Maybe some little tweaks.
That's definitely
there,
the goal. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I love Lightroom. I don't use Photoshop a lot unless I'm doing like a big 6-7 foot print. Then I'll go through it with Photoshop and look for all those little blemishes and things. But otherwise, I live in Lightroom. I'll go from my camera to my phone and post it. And a lot of times I won't even hit my computer until later, whenever that is. But that's from the sports world. Same thing, right? As things were unfolding, it's like, okay, we've got a break between sessions or motos or whatever. And you're looking for the ones that you highlighted on your camera, and then you download them to the phone and off to the press it goes. And that's it. Wow. No time to
pretty fast.
Yeah.
And is that usually the sports world is usually JPEG, isn't it? Is that usually how it's done? Yeah.
Yeah. So when they go to and when they go to the phone now, like with Lightroom, on your iPhone or whatever. Is there a phone other than iPhone?
Oh my God, those Android users are going to be all over you. Oh,
Yeah,
I can't wait. So Jackie's email is
nature.
We're all iPhone, thank goodness. Okay.
Yes, we are.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have a girlfriend. That was for her. She is
Nice.
diehard non-Apple user,
Oh.
and I give her a hard time all the time. I try to share. She's like, share it with me. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can't.
No, I can't airdrop. Sorry.
Can't airdrop.
Yeah.
So with the Lightroom on your mobile phone, it takes the raw, drops it into your phone, and when you go to export it, exports as JPEG. So it's perfect in the sports world. Yeah,
Nice.
and everything's efficient. Very nice program.
Yeah, Lightroom's awesome. It's about, I use it, like you said, the majority of the time. Photoshop's maybe 2 to 3%, 5%. You know, with, like you said, especially dust and sensor dust or whatever it is, right? You know, even actually Lightroom's really, really good at that now too. But just the cataloging and text find, all this kind of stuff. If you do it right,
Well, even the new tools like the repair and the masking, like everything, it's improved. Even in the last year, Lightroom has improved drastically in some of those aspects, right? So it's
amazing.
Crazy. You almost don't need Photoshop almost anymore. So
almost, and to do the same thing in Photoshop is far more work than it is in Lightroom.
Right.
I think the AI assistance in doing your masking and stuff is just phenomenal. I mean, there's always a few questionable things that'll happen, but for the most part, and especially if you're posting something for an Instagram account, it doesn't always have to be perfect. Just, if you can touch it up and make it a little better, great.
You know what, Jackie, you've been so awesome. You're segueing into all our questions because our next little thing is social media. You mentioned Instagram. I was like, perfect. So you're going to have to tell us a little bit about social media and how you approach it and your thoughts and how much you love having to post every day to keep up with the algorithms and this and that. So go.
Who doesn't love posting every day? I am not going to say I've got it figured out because I don't believe for a heartbeat that I do, but
nobody
I definitely, no, I don't. Well, I think there's a lot of luck involved.
Sure.
All of a sudden you get something that, and it won't be your best work. It's never the best one you have, but all of a sudden it goes viral for whatever reason. And things go a little haywire from there, but it's not something that I want to be married to. I don't want to post 6 times a day and have stories and all these things, but I'll try and do one quality one every day or at least every couple of days when I can. And again, it's just about trying to put some value into what it is you're posting. Like you can just print or put up a pretty picture, or you can tell, what you felt or what was happening at the time or what it means or why it's important. There's so many different avenues that you can branch off into to make it interesting for people and engaging with people. And I really love asking questions. I find I get a lot of people answering back, which is fun. It's fun to engage and get ideas and talk shop. I mean, you know what it's like trying to talk cameras and settings to someone that's not a photographer as they glaze over and go into that unconsciousness. It's nice to be with your people. Totally. So being with the right crowd and asking those questions, you get a lot of great stories coming back.
Interactivity for sure. Do you help it? Do you feel it helps your business as well? Like your photo tours and all that? Or do you think it's just a separate entity entirely?
No, I think it definitely does. Like there'll be the odd time I post something out there and, someone has sent it to somebody else specifically because they knew they were looking for, to go to Alaska or to go to Kutsumatine or something like that. And, you'll get your referrals and your questions that'll come in that way. And it's great because you've got your social media channels, I guess helping pump out not just, I think it's really important to have behind the scenes stuff too. A lot of people, it's just about the pictures. But if you're doing something where you want to engage people and you want to, run a tour, you want to do educational components to it, I think they need to see who you are. you need to be willing to give them more than just the picture. If they're going to invest money in spending time with you, they need to have an idea of what they're going to get. So as horribly uncomfortable as it is to sit and film yourself, on site somewhere and going through experiences, I think it's really important to do.
Have you experienced any social media burnout, like in the last 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years? I know a lot of photographers have. And there's actually a mention even at Light Chasers about, well, I'm going to post once a week. I'm going to do it on my own time now. I'm going to not let it run my life, that kind of stuff. It's kind of like that, waking up, like the stress or the anxiety, but okay, what am I going to post today? And, kind of,
it's definitely a stress on mental health for sure.
Yeah,
mental health for sure at times.
For sure. Yeah. I know I've experienced it a few times, and there's a few, 6-month gaps back in the day. And I just, it was just, just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And then, you eventually got back into it and enjoyed the process and the interactions and stuff. But, being engaged and involved for so like that much, it just kind of, it just blew me away. So I was just kind of wondering if you experienced any of that at some point. And I'm not talking like a 6-month thing, but did it ever kind of, I need a break, that kind of stuff? Or do you enjoy it that much that, it's just an everyday kind of thing?
Or are you second guessing what content to actually put up there? Is it
the second guessing thing? Right? Oh my God,
Jeez.
That's the worst.
Yeah. I really haven't had too much problem with that, with the second guessing part. But
good.
Yeah, there's times where, you've just had some crazy days. It's like, I can't. And that's okay. For me, it's not like I'm going to go bankrupt because I didn't make a post. And I would rather post something I feel good about that is reflective of either the quality or the message that I want to put out there than just, hammer something out to please the algorithm, so to speak.
For sure. Yeah.
Not that I've figured that out either, but, I think it's important first and foremost that we do pay attention to how we find balance in life. Like, we can't do a good job at anything in our lives when we have imbalance, whether that's, being a mom or a sister or a husband or a wife or the job. None of it works as smooth as it could if you've got those, imbalances. So it's on us. The first priority is always, when I need to fill that cup and feel like, okay, now I'm back in balance again. That's the first priority. I may not need any more pictures of great gray owls. I may not even download any of the pictures that I take, but I need my time with them or with moose or whatever it is. I just need my time out there in nature. I need to shut the whole world off and hit my reset, and I'll go do that. And if that means there's no posts for a couple of days, there's no posts for a couple of days. It's going to have to be that way. So
good for you. Everybody's got to find their thing. That's if it's not doing that, it's finding something, working out or whatever. They got to find their thing to do exactly what you just said. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And kudos to those that do it multiple times and they're doing stories, 6 stories a day, and they're doing that's great. If you can fit that in and still feel like you've got on, you're on balance somehow, you're nailing it. You should be on the podcast. Reach out to Joe and Chris. Let them know. It's not my forte, but kudos to those that can.
I don't know how they do that. I mean, Joe and I would go out and shoot for hours, and we come back. We're going to do all these recordings, and we're exhausted. We just can't. We have all these plans, and we never get things done because we're just out there shooting. And
it's so funny.
It changes, like for you guys too, right? This is now something that you do as for work, let's say.
Sure.
And I know on the sports side of things, I started because I loved the sport I was photographing. I love everything about the sports, the intensity, the stories, the athletes, the teams. and that grew into a bunch of different sports. But the more something becomes business and the less you're doing it for the reason you may have started doing it, I think that shifts the balance in a big way. It's no longer something you want to do. It's something you have to do. And when that starts to happen, you need to recognize that and find a way to offset it in order to keep the passion in that particular genre. And for me, I think that shift to wildlife really helped me find love behind that lens again, regardless of what I'm shooting. I've got the balance and the capacity to really connect and absorb whatever's happening on the other side. So that's, I think, up to each of us to find a way to make that balance happen.
That's a really great point because, as Chris just mentioned, I mean, the plans we had for when we were in Churchill, oh my God, we're going to record podcasts every day. We're going to come back to the room and we're going to do reels and stories. And we did none of that. But it's good because we didn't let, like you said, the job or the work get in the way of our experience, right? Like we're having such a good time from sunrise to sunset. And whatever it was that we were doing, we didn't really even think about them. We did some behind the scenes stuff.
We did, yeah.
Some really kind of funny things. But for the most part, we were just like, we weren't worried about it. We packed mics, we packed, we had it all. But again, we didn't want it, I guess, we didn't want that ruining the experience.
Good for you guys, because your viewers are going to see it. They're going to feel it. The fact that you're having fun, that you were still energized, that you didn't drain yourselves completely, and it wasn't something you had to do. That's going to come across in the images, in the stories, in the videos that you have. They're going to feel that too. So I think another reason why it's so important not to let yourself get that far gone, because it's just your imagery and your creativity is an extension of who you are and where you are in life. And if you're not in a good place, you're probably not going to get the best results either. So I think that's really important. Good for you guys. I can't wait to see some of it. I really want to see the B-roll stuff because
no, you don't. I don't think you do. I don't want to see it. No,
because it involves a lot of it. It involves Chris. Yeah.
No.
But you know
I can't wait.
I'm a positive guy. I got to keep everything positive and have a little fun.
Okay, Chris, can you share with Jacquie and our podcast listeners the little song you sang every morning before we left, and the song you sang over the walkie-talkie to the rest of our group? Go ahead. Hey, you come on, Chris. Let's hear it.
Okay, fine. And just for some backstory, I always try to be as positive as possible. Life's too short to be negative, so I'm always a positive guy. I'm trying to be. So I always used to sing this song to my kids growing up, and when they were in a struggling going to work or school, whatever. So, anyways, it's pretty silly, but I'll do it for you, Joe.
Okay,
sounds good.
BOSITIVE. Positive. Every morning I sang that on the radio to the whole entire group. So thanks for making me do that on the podcast, Joe.
Well, I think the one morning the crew beat you to it.
They did actually.
Yeah, they beat you to it. So they were so looking for us. Like, where's Chris? Oh, we're gonna sing it anyway. So, yeah. What's your other famous saying? The road thing.
Just a passenger in the road of life.
And I was like, oh my God! I was just, Chris, get out of the truck. How many times are you going to say that? So it was so fun. We just had a blast, and
yes, we sure had a lot of fun in Churchill.
Well, Chris, thank you for singing that positivity song, and
you're welcome.
We'll move on to the next one, Chris.
Yes, okay? Please.
How's
please
that sound? Yeah,
brilliant.
So what's your biggest challenge right now then, Jacquie? It sounds like everything's, running smooth. You got workshops coming up, you got the coaching, you're setting stuff for 2025, 2026. Is there anything, business or maybe photography related that you're kind of like, it is a challenge, but you'll get through it. But is there anything like that in your photo career going on right now? Or
I think, like most people, I mean, you're always dealing with life. there's always things to find the balance, as we talked about earlier. But I've been, I think, really fortunate because I try to always lead with that first. So the choices that I make, the yeses that I give out, are based on making sure I can try and balance things to the best of my ability. And I'm really fortunate here at home. I've got a husband, son, and practically daughter-in-law that are endlessly supportive. And if I do ever doubt, like, oh well, we'll have to talk about that later. The first time I had a call from Canon and things went so wrong. And, whenever I hit those moments of what's going on, what am I doing? They're there to pick me up and keep me from missing a stride. So, been very fortunate to have things laid out pretty good. I think the biggest thing is just trying to prioritize. I mean, the more you do, the more you realize there is left to do. So try to figure out how I'm going to fit it all in whatever time, or willing I have. Trying to figure out how to fit it all in, and not keep adding to the list, trying to check some things off, but they come on quicker than they go off. So that's a first world problem, I would say.
Well, you sound really positive, so that's awesome.
That's good. Awesome. See, I did take drama, Chris. So.
Yeah, there you go. Good acting.
So is there something like, the old saying, like, oh, if only I wish I knew, when I know, what was it? What's the saying?
If I knew then what I know now.
Yeah, exactly. Is there one or two of those that you might want to share with somebody, or 30, whatever,
so
pick a number.
I think that part of the challenge is that there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom and experience out there, but it's hard to grow your journey using somebody else's experiences. Everybody's got that rite of passage to go through and make their own good decisions and bad decisions. And it's those consequences of those decisions that really shape us and mold us into the people we are, and eventually the creatives we become. So I think everybody has to go through that process. And, sometimes wishing you'd done something different is part of it, but it's also, what do you do with the direction you chose, and making the best out of what you can? Because not everything is always the best it could be, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
and I think maybe the add to that is just start. Just get started. Get questions like that all the time. How do you become a photographer? Pick up a camera and start taking pictures, and then you progress just like you did. You started out, you were riding the bikes, and then you're starting to photograph the bikes, and then you were, you know what I mean? You didn't even have that intention of becoming a photographer, which is just absolutely amazing. No, it's a beautiful story. Like, it's just, it just goes to show you where life can take you, right? Like, in whatever you do. I mean, you can go to an event this weekend that could totally change your direction. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like, it's just like, I'm still freaking out that you rode bikes. Okay. So I keep thinking about, I'm like, it must have been her kids, like, so what a story. It's so good. So just start, and then just, don't be in such a rush to get there, and I guess just enjoy the journey. Right. So.
Oh yeah. And that's, like anything, taking those first steps are always the hardest. It doesn't matter if it's a new job, if it's a diet, if it's a hobby or a career. But we only have so much time here on this planet. So you got to make the most of it. Just be as fearless as you can and say yes and go for it. There's you can get into so many different mindsets that come with that, feeling like you're not what you want to be yet, or then when you do get there, that whole imposter syndrome thing. And it's because it's a steep curve, but you get to where you are in life for a reason, and you just have to be okay with failing forward. Every failure is a lesson. If you grow from it, then in that case, it's a good thing. So just keep saying yes and following forward, and eventually you'll pick yourself up enough times, you'll probably keep standing. So
nice. Well, I think that kind of segues into the last few questions here, where Well, the question, I'll read it verbatim. Can you share some tips for aspiring nature photographers looking to improve their skills? Not so much the business side, but just, skills in photography.
Yeah, I think, you're going to find a lot of different people. I can speak to what works for me on a regular basis, but I think people really have to listen to what's happening inside, because there is no one answer fits all. When I go out and I sit down in nature, and if it's wildlife or the scene that I'm in, I tend to stay in behind my camera the whole time, whether I'm taking any pictures or not. I just like to shut out the rest of the world and just stay in that moment. And I know a lot of people they want to put the camera down and just want to be present. And there's no one right answer for that, because it's unique to each person. So I think it's really important to be great at wildlife, nature photography, maybe even photography of any kind, that you're remaining connected to the subject. And that means you found a way to do it that is right for you and where you are in life and what makes you feel good and comfortable behind that lens. So I don't know that there's a one answer that fits all, but I think that is one. Another one I would say to people is if there's something that you do want, if you want to, go to work for a company, maybe a sports team or something, or you want another opportunity to work underneath somebody, be fierce about going after it. Don't send one email and not get an answer back and go, guess it didn't work. Send emails, find out how to, who can you talk to? Can you go down in person? Can you provide them with a portfolio? Like if you don't sell yourself, who's going to do it for you? It's your own business.
Well, especially in the world today, especially in today's world where everybody's got the accessibility to that. Hundreds of thousands of amazing photographers. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to move forward? Great advice, being fierce, going after what you want. And if it takes, 100 no's to get that yes, then you're golden, right? You're
worth
there,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All worth it in the end. Yeah. That's for sure.
In the end, the only thing anyone's going to care about is you got that yes and you're working
that
for
yes.
That's whatever
right.
It is. Yeah.
It took Chris 350 asks before I finally said yes.
What?
We can cut that out of the podcast.
No, Joe. That's a keeper too.
Oh my God, we have too much fun. Oh my God.
He was chasing you till you caught him.
That's right. Nobody else wanted to do it, so I had to ask you last. So, no.
Oh my gosh, you too.
To think I was the first one he asked when it was actually 57? I don't know, somewhere down the bottom there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So
you guys are so perfect for each other. I think there's a compliment in there. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, well,
it's almost like how we were introduced at Churchill.
Okay, that's your story, Chris. Go.
No, we were introduced as these are partners. I said, can you put the word business in front of those, please? Business partners.
There's Joe and Chris.
Podcast
they're partners. They're partners. We're looking at it. We're like, we looked. Or what? Chris yells out right away. What? Business partners.
Had to clarify. Not that there's anything wrong about that. I just had to clarify.
No. But we just needed some clarification.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
It was fun.
Beautiful.
Jeez. So, Jackie, any last words or thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I don't have anything to say.
See, Chris? There you go.
Oh my goodness. Do you guys laugh this much all the time?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Really?
It's hard to get work done sometimes, because it's always something. It's
if you can't have fun,
And you know what? Honestly, guys, that was the major criteria when starting the podcast. and moving forward with this in business and much like all this kind of stuff, we both agreed that the minute it stops being fun, we're done. We'll close the channel and leave the videos up for people to watch and everything else. But the minute it becomes work and we just can't, stressing over it, we got to do this or we got to create content for that. Or like when it gets to be too much, we're done. So
sometimes we have too much fun. But,
and we don't get anything done.
I just pictured the two old guys from the Muppets.
yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're not that far off. No.
Yeah. Chris is closer than I am, but we're good.
Yeah. Okay, old man.
It's going to be perfect.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could actually take that advice and use it with anything you do, right? So,
yeah. Last thoughts. Yeah. We need to go out photographing together. We need to get out with you guys for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Great.
And we'll just let the camera go. We'll hit record and just have fun.
Jeez.
You're going to have some editing, Chris.
Yeah, I think so.
There's going to be some beeps and bleeps, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are you guys going down to light chasers?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, already responded to Shane there, and it looks like a new avenue, so that's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. That's what I'd love to go down. I would. I'm going to reach out to him and ask him. Yeah, if there's room to come back, just as a groupie,
absolutely,
as a podcast groupie.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll have our own little section over there,
Signing autographs.
Yeah.
Because we're real popular. It'll just be. The sounds of it'll just be Jackie. So.
Jackie, who?
Oh wow!
Wow!
Oh, seriously?
That's
so
fun.
new. So new.
No, absolutely. Everybody's Shane said like past presenters 100%. So
awesome.
Got the email. So it'll be fun for sure.
I don't know if I got the email. Maybe I'm not on that list. I'll have to check.
Well, I have to go. I'm part of the team. I do all the B-roll and behind the scenes stuff. So
nice.
So I help out a bit of that and set up and stuff. So it's always a great fit. I don't know if you know this, but I was the very first ticket purchase on the very first year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
That's just poetic justice. I love it.
I'm so excited.
Shane has set up an amazing event, and I can't recommend it more to anyone. It's just awesome. It's a great event. Spending 4 days with like-minded individuals, it's perfect. So it's great. Yeah,
the whole premise has stayed very true to what I think his initial intentions were. And, it's coming right from the top down, the people he brings in and the stories you hear and the people that share. And even when we step out of those auditoriums and we're out in the field and, it's just the one-on-one conversations. People are just so genuine and appreciative of time together. And that's why we do it, right? It's just exciting to get back to that. Yeah. 100%. Done it right. That's for sure.
You bet.
And still lets us hang out. So go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We got him snowed.
Awesome. Oh, geez. Well, Jackie, we really appreciate you coming on. We had a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
Really good information to share.
And
hopefully people enjoy this.
Oh
my gosh. They'll enjoy you too, that's for sure.
No, you were awesome. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming on, Jackie. And
anytime.
Thanks everybody. Again, thanks for watching. Really appreciate the support. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Before we wrap up, we'd like to thank the Camera Store for supporting the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
They're a legendary name in photography, and their support helps us keep bringing you these episodes.
Don't forget to check them out at thecamerastore.com for all your photography and video needs.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys Podcast.